sun's in my eye. Hello, beautiful people. We are doing our first session of plein air of the season. It's May 31st and it's around 7 degrees outside in the sun. It feels a lot colder in the shade, but that means plein air season can start. Technically, PleinAirpril is tomorrow. I don't do PleinAirpril because April is a very busy month, and also April in Montreal could mean winter, could mean spring, could mean summer, could mean last year at this time of year ice storm. So I wanted to participate in PleinAirpril, but April in Montreal, plein air, not a great idea. Crunchy, crunchy. Although it's rather pretty. It's an ice storm. Let's face it, not doing plein air. So doing plein air in April in Montreal is always a risk. So I'm not really doing that. I'm gonna try to do at least once a week some plein air, but that's gonna be tricky. The other thing I want to do this year is start an annual perpetual journal. So it's gonna start in April because that's when I actually start plein air for the season. So we're starting that this week, and we're gonna do PleinAirpril a little early because I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to do it tomorrow. This is where we're going to try and do some plein air. There are some tables to be comfortable. There's still a lot of sun. It's an open area. So let's find a spot. This is a spot. If I sit here, the sun will slightly go into my back, and I can paint that tree or draw that tree. It's going to be in the light. So this spot works. And it's been in the sun for a little bit, so the stone is still slightly warm. So when I sit on it, I don't freeze my butt off. This is the bag that I use. STM, it's short for something. I can't remember what it's short for, but basically I got it because it can hold sketchbooks, and I put small sketchbooks here. Usually I use sketchbooks that I made myself and decide what paper I can use and how big or small they need to be. And most of my sketchbooks have been very thick, and I've decided that doesn't encourage me to finish them. So instead I've been making very small ones, and maybe 20 or so pages. So this is one where I thought at first I was going to start only inks, because I started in October. So I thought I was going to do Inktober, and I really wasn't into it. And then I skipped a few months, and then I drew some family and friends, and I did some urban sketching from life and from pictures. I joined the Urban Sketchers Montreal for a day. I only have done Urban Sketchers Montreal maybe 4 times or 5 in the past, mostly when they are outside. This is the first time we did it from inside, but I was still looking outside. I apparently don't care about interiors. You'll have to excuse the little doggies who are around. So yeah, we're gonna continue in this one. Okay, you might be curious what I have here. I have mechanical pencils, actual Blackwing wood pencils. I have watercolor pencil by Caran, in a fairly neutral color. What color is this? Burnt Sienna 50%. That way I can sketch and it'll disappear when I use it, which sometimes I prefer that than mechanical. I have a water brush that I keep at all times because in the past, I don't like using them, but in the past I've sometimes forgotten my brushes and realized, oh, I really should just keep the water brush, because sometimes I forget things. Of course, it's all in one. I have a few ink pens, and this is one of those, forget the name of these, but like the Fuumuui, I think it's called. I have a white acrylic Faber-Castell. It's one of the best whites I've come across. I don't like using white very often, but I have one just in case, because sometimes I've been a little too enthusiastic with how much I put paint on and didn't realize, oop, I forgot about the highlights, and now I can't lighten it up. This is a Faber-Castell Pit Artist Pen in small. This is simply a fountain pen with very light gray ink. It is not waterproof, but that's okay. This one is supposed to be waterproof, but sometimes I feel it doesn't quite dry as fast as I wish it did. It's a Kuretake. I always have at least a pipette so I can refill my water brush. Some extra paper, a couple of mini palettes. This is the one I've been using with the yellow sketchbook, and I like sometimes just using one type of palette for a full sketchbook, especially if it's a small sketchbook. These are the colors that I was asked about from the Kremer pigment sets, and a little bit of gouache here, but I do have some white gouache, some chapstick, because it happens that you get very dry lips and you're outside in plein air, and there's nothing more painful, especially when it gets cold. I have some, this is some liquid charcoal in pan from charcoal. I have some water-soluble graphite. So thank God I found my water-soluble graphite. I thought I had lost it. This is what I use usually as a receptacle for water. I just clip it on to my sketchbook. And this is another mini watercolor set. And these are all from Old Holland. So it's a sample set that came with 6 colors, which is perfect for a mini set. And I think it's a very nice set for plein air. And these are new brushes for Fuumuui. I'm not sure what they're made of, but they weren't bad. So I thought, let's give them a try for plein air. The only thing that bothers me is that you can see how you need to go and reach. You need to go in. I'm doing this one-handed because I don't have a tripod with me. You need to go and reach for okay, I can't get them out with one hand, so I'm gonna in case you didn't know, you've been put down. Even with 2 hands, it's not easy getting them up. Okay, I need to modify this casing so it's easier to bring out. All right, so that's the main thing. I hate how this is so deep that the brushes fall at the bottom and I can't take them out easily. So what I'm thinking I'm doing, because this is not real leather. I don't know what it is. It can't be real leather. Maybe it is, but it's very cheap. I'm gonna cut through here so I'm able to access the brushes. I think I'm gonna do that, because this is, first time around outside, this has not met my standards for easy access, which is something you really want when you're doing plein air. You want to protect things, but you want easy access. You don't want to fight with them, and I had to fight with this. So we're gonna change that when we get home. And yeah, let's do that tree. I really want to focus on the trunk. I want to focus on that, and I think I need to start soon because the sun is moving and eventually it's going to go down the back of there. So that means I won't have as much sun, and that means I'm gonna get cold and I'm gonna want to go home. So let's do the tree. If you speak French, there's a slightly sad story going on in the background of a dog owner who recently lost his 13-year-old dog. I'm trying to edit around it to safeguard everyone's privacy, but it's not going to be easy because I'm not in control of people coming around and talking. This first part is strictly done with water-soluble graphite. I use ArtGraf by Viarco. All the products used will be in the description. You can see the sketch marks done with the Caran Museum Aquarelle pencil in burnt sienna 50%. What I like about this pencil is that it's neutral enough but just warm to give somewhat of a kick sometimes, but in this case it basically all disappeared behind the monochromatic graphite. I don't know about you, but I often forget that I should not focus on details until I start to struggle. And then all of a sudden I remember, listen, you need to focus on the values and forget about the details until you're further into the painting. This side is directly in the light, being hit directly by sunlight. But until my darkest dark are in, I am never sure how light I should keep the area. Better to keep it light and adjust later on. I started to worry here because I used much more water than anticipated, and the values were not contrasting as much as I hoped because they kept being diluted into the puddle of water. I went back with less water and more pigment and moved on to areas that had dried enough and started doing some dry brushing at times. Dry brushing can get tricky with flat brushes because the pattern tends to become a little too regular, so you need to angle and twist your brush around to get some variety. Over time, I found that the trick for semi-monochrome painting is to focus on specific areas. I love mixing graphite with color, but I also like when it's mostly monochrome and just a hint of color is left. In case you're wondering what this is, I keep paper on my wrist held by an elastic for easy access for cleaning my brush. That way I also don't worry about losing my paper or it flying in the wind. If there's a reason to keep a messy palette, it's basically because keeping a dirty palette makes it easy to access brown and grays the next time you paint. The lights and shadows were quickly changing on me, so I used yellow ochre for lighter areas to make them warmer and sun-kissed. I couldn't make the colors lighter, but I could make them warmer. Here you can see how the dry brushing was creating a boring, predictable pattern. So I used a wet wash to suggest large swaths of dry, flattened grass in contrast. And it really is flattened grass at this time of year because it's old, dry grass. The devil is in the details. Often with trees, that means the texture of the bark to create the illusion of death. Here again, I'm using the dry brush technique, but this time using the side of the brush for more control, but also it gives me more organic movement because I don't have these parallel lines going all together. That shine is the graphite catching the light. It really does sparkle. So it doesn't quite reflect as much as a regular graphite pencil, but it does shine. So no matter how sunny things are, when it's not quite maybe 12 to 15 degrees, your fingers get cold really fast. So you do your sketches as quickly as possible and hope that you have enough that if you go home, you can maybe do something better or try it again. And my focus today was basically getting that part of the trunk with the moss on it, because that's what caught my eye, was basically the trunk having lost a big chunk of the bark and the underside of the bark going green with moss. All right, I'm gonna clean up all my mess. One of the things I wanted to say is I usually don't use a lot of water because then whatever's left, which is almost nothing, I can then just clean with some napkins and be done. All right, I'm gonna go. It's cold. Ciao. All right, I'm going home. I am cold. The sun is getting lower in the back. So I'll see you next time. So this was the first day of PleinAirpril, kinda, the day before, because I'm not gonna be doing this tomorrow. Ciao. Right now, there's a squirrel on the tree, and I'm glad she wasn't there while I was painting it. I have things with squirrels. I feel like they're my mini nemesis. You're my enemy. And she knows it. I don't know if it's a she, but she knows it. I don't know. I like invented in my mind that I have this fight with squirrels. Why? I don't know. In my world, Glenda and squirrels, Gigi and squirrels are not friends.